Hey, everybody. I'm here with Jessica Barker as my guest today.
Hey, everyone.
We're going to be talking coffee talk, inspirational conversations, whatever we can come up with. Let's get into it. How you
Yeah.
doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Freaking fantabulous. I wanted to talk first about our love of coffee, our mutual love of coffee.
Oh, yes.
Coffee is like the nectar of the gods for me. I don't know what I would do without coffee. I wasn't a big coffee drinker up until about 10 years ago. And I started drinking coffee every morning. And it used to be like, oh, I can't wake up without my coffee. Now I can wake up without my coffee, but I don't like not having my coffee. And if I can't have my coffee made right, I'd rather go without it. And by made right, I mean I have to have my coffee made the bougie way nowadays. Thanks to you. And we were
Yes.
talking about this a little bit off camera, and I said, hey, wait, save it for the show. I wanted to talk about like how we got into French pressing. And when we first started French pressing the coffee, it wasn't because we were looking for a different way altogether. It was we were thinking up ideas. We were brainstorming about the podcast, ironically enough. And we were doing research about coffee and making coffee. And I use a drip coffee maker all the time. And Ashley's over here. She can't really talk with us because we only have a setup for 2 mics. But Ashley's with us. She's producing in the background for us. But Ashley here, she had an idea. She's like, hey, Jessica was telling me about this French press thing and how it's so wonderful. And then we watch videos and I'm like, that looks really good. And then she just out of nowhere decided she was going to go get a French press. And how did you get into French pressing coffee?
So I, like you, love coffee. It's like liquid gold. You don't want to see me without my coffee. I can tell days that I've had time to be at home and drink my coffee versus days I've gone without it. Let me tell you, day and night difference in my attitude for the day. So my family knows I love coffee. We talk about coffee. What coffee are you drinking? What are you doing? My Aunt Danny, she got me into French presses because she talks about how she starts her day. She's able to drink her coffee, black coffee, so that way she doesn't have to add sugar and creamers in it because she uses a French press. She says, the coffee is so much better. You have to try it. And I'm like,
It's a night and day difference.
all right, okay. So she actually bought me my first French press at Aldi. And man, Sean and I were fighting for that coffee because it only makes like 2 good cups. So we were fighting over this coffee like, okay, I got my cup. I want my second cup. I'm going to get it before he gets out of bed. And then he'd wake up, the French press would be empty. And I'd have to tell Aunt Danny, like, you were so right about that French press. I will never go back because something about you don't have to use those paper filters. Like the way it keeps the beans and stuff, and it doesn't scorch the beans like it does with the drip. It's just
Right.
a game changer. I can't go back now. I can't even go to
And
like
not only-
coffee shops and get coffee now. I'm like, nope, I like mine at home better.
Not only with the drip maker do you get that burnt taste from the dripping and all that, but it's also on a burner
Yeah.
to keep it warm.
Yeah, so it's like scorching that coffee that whole time.
And as we were learning more about the French press, we looked up a video about how to do French press. And ironically, that's how a lot of people found our podcast at first. And then we had to change a little of the keywords and everything to make that not happen because we don't have any videos on how to make coffee with a French press yet, but it's coming. We're trying to work on funds to get a camera, and we're going to get that going.
Yeah, and don't hate on electric kettles, anybody, by the way, because
They're the most wonderful things
they're
ever.
so wonderful to be able to walk away, not have to stand at the stove and boil the water and wait for that whistle. Just being able to click it and walk away, and it.
But to be honest with you, I'd almost rather have both.
I mean, you've
as
got to
a
have both
backup.
in case
We don't
something
have
happens.
both. I thought we had both. Now, I don't know what the heck I would do without my coffee in the event of a power outage or something like that. and because
Oh,
I have
man.
to have I have to have my coffee. And luckily, the electric kettles that we have are low enough wattage that we can run it off the generator, but they're just high enough wattage that it's the only thing that we can run on our generator. So,
Oh, well, I mean, if you have to have something to run off it, it better be something for coffee,
oh
right?
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
I'm
you got to
telling you, but
make
I
the
couldn't.
important things first now.
I could though, if I had a regular kettle, I could make it on a rocket stove out in the backyard for like $15. You know, it doesn't cost that much just to have it in the event of an emergency. Wink, wink, producer lady.
Hey, now we're talking. Remember how you were talking about your last episode, talking about camping with Sully and building
Yeah.
the fire?
Yeah. We got a actually upcoming episode this Friday. It'll be released right before this one. As we're recording this, it will be this upcoming Friday. By the time everybody sees this and listens to this, it'll have already been out. But as on emergency preparedness and how to get ready. And since then, since we had that episode, I've been seeing a lot of things about emergency preparedness and how it's just not a bad idea. It's basically just common sense to have be prepared in the event of an emergency. But I would love to be able to say, hey, if my power goes out, I can still make my coffee.
Yeah, because that's do or die for me, and especially my husband.
And
Him having to live with me without the coffee is
having a
poor
French
Sean.
press, and now that we have an insulated French press, thank
Yes,
you.
that's the same one I have. That thing is amazing.
It is. It is. It keeps it nice and hot. So I mean, there was the first time I used it, we didn't make it all the way through it before it cooled down, but we weren't really drinking it all that quick because we're recording. But
Yeah.
normally I go through it like it's super quick and
That's
it
how
doesn't
I
have
am.
time
It's
to.
like one coffee, two coffee. That one's nice because Sean and I actually have enough to kind of get 2 cups in, because 2 cups apiece, because I save so much room for my half and half. That's like my little thing, is I like my coffee with lots of half and half.
And for those of us that don't know your husband and don't know you're married, Sean is I almost called you Ashley. Sean is Jessica's husband, and they own a business together, and it's a successful. Do you want to name your business?
Sure. We're going through changes because, my husband and I, we're changing our business name and things, but right now it's called Fresh Start Cleaning Solutions. It's a commercial cleaning business. We're going to be called Swept Clean in the future.
Swept Clean.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to remember. But right now, if you look us up anywhere on Facebook and stuff, it's Fresh Start Cleaning Solution. But we're
Shout
changing some
out.
things. Cool. Awesome. It's exciting. You guys dabbled in your cleaning stuff too. And
Like, yeah, we
that's
we
a whole
have,
other topic.
we don't have, so we don't have really our own business doing it, but we contract, and it's not a bad gig. It pays really well, and once you start doing it, you're shocked at how well it pays, and then you're like, why doesn't everybody do this?
Oh, yeah.
So
It's a service. Anytime you're providing a service, especially ones that nobody else wants to do, I'm like, hire me. I will do it for you, because
absolutely.
there's room for everybody. That's what I always say, because nobody likes cleaning toilets and break rooms and stuff like that. I kind of get a kick out of it. I'm
Right.
like, I can make that. Let me make that sparkle for you, because
I honestly
employees
don't
don't
mind
like doing it.
I
I like
honestly
doing it.
don't mind what we're doing. It's just the amount of time that I have to do. I don't really have all that much time, and more than a couple hours a day. It feels like I could be more of use elsewhere than
Yeah.
doing what I do. But it is what it is. It's the roll of the dice, and until we get to where we want to be, that's the things that we got to make those personal sacrifices and get to where we want to go through whatever means possible. And you're one of those inspirations for us to start our own business and get this thing going.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, Sean's not here, but he is like the brainy one of business operations. He's the one that knows about getting LLCs, doing taxes, really doing the fundamentals of owning a business. Where me, I like to say I'm more of like the face of the company in a sense, because I'll meet the people
Right.
and I'm like, oh, hello. where's Sean and Jessica and how you doing? And he's like, you just do better at talking with people. I'm like, I can't help it. I get nervous and I talk a lot, but I guess that's okay. There's a benefit to it. Who knew?
So with Ashley and I, the way we have to do things is because neither of us know what we're doing. And Ashley went through some school type stuff, but it was in a different focus. It was more towards human resources and not on the aspect of things that I need done. And that in her field, it would be more legal that takes care of those things. And she would coordinate with a different department to do all the things that I need done. And I don't know how to do all these things. So so the reason why it took us so long to get this thing together is because figuring out each thing that we had to do and the steps to get there. And then at the end of that, we figure out, oh, we have to pay money. We have to pay to play kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it was waiting on funding, and this being a project that I don't know if it's ever going to make any money. I don't really care if it makes money. This is what I want to do.
This is totally cool, by the way. Like,
thank you very much.
I watch every episode because I think it's so cool, because I know you've talked about this passion of yours for so long.
I have.
And to see you do it, it's like seeing you accomplish something that you've worked so hard towards. And it's like you said, even if you don't make any money, just getting the courage to make the financial jump to even invest in the equipment and the time to do it. I know that was a thing for Sean and I started our business, was like, okay, we're going to have to work 2 jobs for a while until we can get independent to just do our business. And it's terrifying, but it's like the most rewarding thing you can do for yourself. So
it's not really been all that terrifying, for real. It's been exciting. I think the worst part for me about it was the hurry up and wait, because I was wanting to jump in feet first, and everybody. So I didn't have a whole lot of self-confidence. I still don't have a whole lot of self-confidence. I got what you might say a little bit of an ego, but that would allow me to talk to everybody. I just kind of pretend like that camera's not here most of the time.
Yeah.
But until I get in that groove, like Ashley was discussing before we started, that I have a little bit of trouble getting going. But once I'm going, I kind of get into my groove and I kind of forget about the camera and I'm just focused on the person that's here. And getting over that hurdle is starting to go away, starting this whole thing. It was a little bit difficult to start with, but then I was like, hey, I got to make the person that I'm with comfortable as well. I can't make it an awkward conversation. And we jumped right into the coffee, and then we kind of talking about inspirations and what made you decide that you wanted to start French pressing. And then we got into a little bit about preparing or whatever, but I think the bottom line is I like to just talk.
Oh, see, me too. And that's kind of funny because even when I was here, like, I don't know if it was Saturday or something, we talked about our spouses. Like,
right.
I said how I know so many couples are like, you've got your quiet one and you've got your loud one. You got your fire and you got your ice. And like every couple I know has got like the one that's the quieter one, the more reserved one, and then you've got like your loud one, that's the talker. Well, for Sean and I'm clearly the talker.
Right.
You and Ashley, you're clearly the talker.
I don't know. Once you get Sean opened up about certain things, he starts
hilarious.
talking. And I'm going to have him on the show too.
Oh,
hopefully.
He's great. I tell him all the time, I'm like, you can say 2 sentences during a whole conversation and you'll have me laughing in stitches because just the things that you do make the time to say, it kills me. And it's so great. And me, I'm just like a blabbermouth. I just talk and talk.
Me too.
Was that one night I was over here. I didn't leave until like 4:30 in the morning because we just got talking on stuff. And
well, what happens, that happens a lot when I have anybody over, really. It's because I don't get to talk to anybody. And some of the times most of the times the people that I have over, they don't really talk to anybody either. It seems like once you become an adult, you just lose all your friends for some reason. I guess it's just the rat race of being busy and everything. And you can identify with that, having your own business, how busy you have to be at certain parts of, you don't work like 9 to 5 like other people, but it's a little bit different owning your own business because even when you're not working, you're working.
Oh yeah.
And you're always pushing to make things better in this direction or make things better in that direction. So a lot of people, sometimes I had a hard time getting people to understand over the last few years, like, hey guys, I know that I don't have a quote unquote job, but I am trying to put things together and I'm trying to get our lives together because I started way too late.
Yeah.
You know,
It's having a passion for something. You have to be willing not only to do the work, but also to invest your free time into thinking about things for your
right.
passion. So it can be consuming with energy and time in that sense. I mean, it's always worth it though. It's like the saying, you have to spend money to make money. It's a lot of that, you
Yeah.
gotta, and sometimes you might not make that money. Sometimes you might take an L and lose that, but there might be another gain. You might learn a lesson from it or,
Right.
get the experience from it. And I know with your time, you and Ashley's time, Sean and I, we don't have children, but you guys have kids, and I've been so happy and honored and blessed to have been given the trust to take Sully and Rocket.
Hey, you know what? You made our village bigger, and it takes, and we don't really allow people into our village so often because of the things that have happened to us over the years. And it used to be a lot worse when I was younger, before Ashley even met me. And then progressively it started getting better and people started understanding where I was coming from. And then it got to the point where I had family call me and tell me they miss having me around and miss this and miss that. And I'm like, well, now I don't have time.
Yeah.
And it hurts, but at the same time, where were they when I needed them?
Yeah.
Where was all that love and support before? Where was all that curiosity? Like I still have family members that call me and say, oh, this person was asking about you. Well, they never call me. I know my phone number hasn't changed in 17 years.
Yeah.
And so it's difficult to hear those kind of things sometimes, but most of the time I'm okay with it because my village, although it's small, is very supportive. I don't get to see my friends very often because I've got friends all over the country and they, some have moved away and the ones that are still here are really, really busy, just like me. And then when I have free time, they're busy. And when they have free time, I'm busy.
Yeah.
So it's a strange dichotomy when you get older, how many things that you miss out on and how many social situations that you do miss out on. And then when you do have those social situations, even in the middle of the grocery store, it's hard to walk away from them because you don't know when you're going to have another one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I always tell Sean, like, I'm sorry that you have to be the one that I talk to all the time. Like, I would love to have another, like, girlfriend or somebody to talk to and, vent to or something, but it just happens that it's him. So then when we all four get together, you, Ashley, Sean, and I, it's like,
well, the more I learn about,
we get to talk to another couple and we're all in our 30s and it's great. And
right.
It's like,
30 somethings, having other
Yeah.
30 somethings to discuss life with, because like you said, you don't have any children yet, but it's one of those things that even though we have those differences, we live a lot of the same life.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And even though, like, hey, you're going to have the boys a couple times a week, so it's like, welcome to the village.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're here. Are you ready to go to Colorado and go on vacation with us? Because that's what's going to end up happening.
And that's what I like about having family here that's close, because I'm an only child and Sean's an only child. Like, I'm not going to be Aunt Jessica. I don't have any brothers or sisters, and neither does he. So our cousins are really like, our siblings in a sense. Well,
Right.
especially him, because he doesn't have a lot of family here. So he has, we are married, so his family and my family, we are each other's family, but he is so happy that I have close relationships with my cousins and my family. So he also gets to kind of grow his love with my family, which
Right.
is so cool. And that's one thing that is so cool about Sean is we take the boys and he doesn't feel like he's just like married into this family and, oh, I had to spend time with my cousin. Like, it's not
And
like
to make
that.
it clear, I don't know, does Sean watch the show?
He does.
To make it clear,
So
we
he
feel
will
like
hear
we
this.
feel like Sean's part of the family. Absolutely.
Oh,
Feel like
yeah.
he's part of the
He-
family. He makes us feel like part of his family. So
Oh yeah, for those of you that don't know my husband, I've been with my husband. We've been married for 9 years, going on 10. We actually all got married, I think, in 2014. You guys got married in 2014. Bub
Yeah.
and Cody, I know you're watching. We all got married the same year. So but even before we were married, you guys were together forever before you were married. Bub and Cody were together forever.
We've been together since 2006.
Yeah.
So 17 and a half years.
Yeah, because I remember I was like in high school when you started coming around the family. So
Right.
you feel like my cousin Ricky, even though
Right.
Ashley's technically my second cousin, like you guys feel more like first cousins to me because I don't have, brothers or sisters. And, like you watch me, Ashley watched me. We're 5 years apart. She watched me when I was little. Her and Bub did. Bless their hearts, because that was a lot.
I heard. I've heard a
yeah.
lot of those stories. I got to witness some of them. I was around for so how old are you?
I just turned 33 in December. So
And so we are 6 years apart. And so I was 21.
yeah.
So you would have been like 14.
Oh, yeah.
14 or 15.
14 or 15, yeah. If it
And
was
I
2006,
remember-
I was 15, so turning 16 later at the end of the year.
I remember you being in high school having a nice, really, what year was your car?
Well, I drove a 79 El Camino.
And where did you get that car?
My dad actually got me that car when I was 16 because he used to take me to car shows, because I was like, my dad always wanted a boy, so I was like the boy my dad always wanted in a way.
Right.
So we go to car shows, and I was like, I just like those little trucks, Dad, that have like the back fenders that go like this. Like, he's like, El Camino. So every time when I was little, he'd be like, look, there's an El Camino, Jess. There's an El Camino. And then he was like, I'm going to get you an El Camino. And I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, they're
Oh,
cool
boy.
cars. I like them.
Yeah.
Did you like yours?
I love that car. I still love that car. It's still at my dad's house, parked. The transmission is gone. I went through 2 transmissions. I kind of have a bad driving history of having a lead foot.
Is it an
so-
automatic?
Yeah, unfortunately. I wish it was like, something with a big block V8.
Do you know
manual,
how to
but-
drive standard?
Yeah.
So I would definitely switch that out if it was
Oh,
if it
man,
was
I
my
would
vehicle.
Now,
but-
see, my dad's got a 67 Chevelle.
Oh.
Yeah. With a 397 big block.
I knew
And
about
it's a
that, but-
manual. And Sean has driven it. He actually let Sean drive it. He's tried to get me to drive it, but I'm terrified to drive that car because it's
Yeah,
irreplaceable. It's all factory,
Right.
all original. I mean, yeah. So I won't drive it because
Well,
I'm terrified.
I used to think the same thing, but then I got a pretty good insurance company, and I was really upset about my vehicle once I learned I had a vehicle that once I learned it was totaled, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated that they said they were going to total it, and then I got the check, and I felt better.
Oh yeah.
So I could tell you, like, I know there's those sentimental things, it was actually the first car that Ashley and I bought together, brand new. And it's still my favorite car that I've ever owned. And I don't have it anymore because I made a careless mistake. And that's what irritated me the most about that whole thing. But then I got that check to replace it, and I was like, oh, now I feel better.
Yeah, now it's not so bad. Now
Right.
it's, now
with,
it's okay.
with the money I got, I bought 2 cars.
That's funny. Yeah, sometimes insurance works, and when it works, it's great. It's always good. So,
Absolutely.
you
And
know.
I just wanted to go back to the car. And when I first met you while you were in high school, you had a really hot, nice car.
Oh yeah, I love
And
that car. Oh.
What does your dad do for a living currently? What does your dad do?
So currently my dad is basically a full-time musician. He is a retired police officer, and now he plays music. The passion, love of his life is music.
So
Always has been.
wait a minute. You said retired police officer. Your dad, while you were in high school, was a police officer.
Yes.
And you had this nice ass cherry car,
Camino.
El
Oh,
Camino. And so at that point, you were known as a police officer's daughter at school?
Well, the people that knew. And the people that didn't know, I wasn't going to tell because my dad's not. my dad's not a regular cop. He's a cool cop. You know, I'm not a regular mom. I'm a cool mom. Like Mean Girls. Like that's kind of how my dad was. He was very much like
Yeah, that's how your dad
chill.
was. But how many people outside of your circle knew that? You know,
Oh man, I didn't get invited to a lot of parties because
right.
you know your
Absolutely.
dad's a cop.
Absolutely.
Jessica's going to snitch. And
That's
I was
where
like,
I was kind of going with that.
I was like, my dad does not. If I tell my dad something, he's gonna be like, Jessica, don't tell me this because then I'm gonna have to actually like do something about it. So I'm just don't tell me. So I just don't tell him. Like, cool.
Yeah, that's that. I
Plus,
got
he
that
really
from your
didn't
dad.
care. Like he really, my dad, he was.
I love your dad to death, and one of these days
yeah.
I'd love to have him on the show
He
as well.
is super, super cool. Like
I want to ask him actually to record some music for us.
Oh yeah,
So
he would love that. Like he loves music.
we've
Like,
got another show that we want to do, and it's just a show with Ashley and I when we can do it. I'm trying to work on it and work out the details, but as like I told everybody in their last episode, I'm dealing with a wicked case of burnout, and I'm trying to get all this stuff done as quick as possible, but having funding is the biggest problem. And once we clear those hurdles, it's just having the time to do things. And I'm wanting to change the studio up. I'm wanting to do a lot of things that involve, because I got to make this space bigger to make it more hospitable to guests. And I got to get guests in here. And there's certain type of guests I want to have in here, but I can't have them in here without paying them. And it's a mess. But I'm glad that we've made this step and had our first guest on. You're our first guest.
I am totally
Congratulations.
honored. Like this is so cool. Like I know this is your baby, you know? Like
It is.
And so this is really cool. Like I was tickled to death when you even considered me coming on. I was like, oh boy, like two ADHDers
Right.
having conversation. Ashley, you're going to have your editing cut out for you. I was kind of nervous because I was telling Ashley, I'm like, it could go from this to this real quick if we don't stay on topic.
And it has been, but I think it's been kind of organically going where it wants to go. And I kind of like that.
And
I don't want
I
to.
love talking. Like this is my thing is talking. I always say like, if people did a little bit more talking, you'd find out that humanity is really a good place.
Absolutely. And then some of the things that we might talk about today might spark inspiration in somebody else to do their own thing. And
oh yeah,
one of the things that really got me into wanting to do my own thing is I got really tired of people treating me like a moron. And there's certain people in my life that know I'm uneducated, but and they treat me as if I'm stupid. And I had an old boss that treated me like I was just a dumbard and box of rocks because he had to explain things to me a certain way. And I told him right off the top that I had no experience when he hired me. So like, how am I just supposed to pick this up if you don't show me?
yeah.
You know, if you're not training me to do these things, how the hell do I know what a, schedule T40 is or whatever it is? How am I supposed to know those things if you don't tell me what it is or show me exactly what you're talking about? I couldn't do that. And so everybody treated me like I was stupid, except for my direct supervisor. And my direct supervisor took a lot of heat for me. He was my brother-in-law. And we had a great working relationship together. And then they separated us and we both stopped caring. And we both lost our jobs. And I went one direction, tried to get a different job, and had difficulty getting hired because of my weight. And at that point, I was like 450 pounds.
Oh, people discriminate against people for
Yeah.
their weight. It's a real thing. Like,
Yeah,
it
and-
definitely, I've witnessed it. I mean, I used to be a lot bigger than I am now. Like, I'm 130 pounds lighter than I was. And
Right. And as
you
a matter
get
of
treated
fact,
a certain way for sure.
We've both had, I don't know if you want to talk about
Oh,
this.
we can absolutely talk
We've
about
had bariatric surgery.
Yep.
And as a matter of fact, you had the same bariatric surgery my wife had.
Yes, she was actually kind
And-
of my inspiration for me choosing the surgery I had.
I was supposed to have that surgery, but when they got in there to do the surgery, they said my liver was so enlarged that they couldn't finish and they had to stop. And that's when I understood. When I had the surgery, I was probably as close to death as you ever want to be. I was probably
Yeah.
right there on the edge. And I felt like at that time I was just sitting around waiting to die. I was so depressed and I couldn't it wasn't that I didn't want to lose the weight. I couldn't move. I couldn't physically
Oh
move.
yeah.
Like my back, and I'd say my back hurts, but my legs would not work, because they were numb. And
Yeah.
I worked through it a lot, but at the end of the day, I had to sit down and relax, and then I wasn't moving for like 3 days,
Yeah.
and
I feel like I didn't start living until I had my surgery, because that was like the start of the life I actually wanted to live, that I
yeah.
saw myself wanting for myself when I was bigger, but I physically could not do it.
Well, I blame a lot of that on socioeconomics and the things that we do to comfort ourselves because the world around us isn't the way we want it, when we're probably pretty lucky to live the way we do.
Yeah.
And a lot of people take for granted the things that we have. And I think that's what helped me get to where I am now, is stepping back and looking, hey, life could be a lot worse. I could have, instead of having issues trying to buy a camera, I could be trying to pay my light bill,
Oh yeah.
and I feel extremely grateful to be where I am and have the things that I am. And sometimes I get, I need to be put in check sometimes
I think that comes naturally. I think some of us all get a little upset sometimes, or a little frustrated with certain things in our lives, and then but when you reflect back, it's like my husband used to always tell me this. He used to say, no matter how bad you have it, someone out there always has it worse than you do. So he's taught me, like, if you're feeling like you got a lot of self-pity, like someone out there has it worse. And I think about that a lot. And that's what made me be so humble now, is I realize when I see people's living situations out there,
right.
man,
Well, for
I am blessed.
for me, it's looking outside our country.
Oh,
I've gotten
man.
into some geopolitics lately. You had talked about how, when your husband watches the news on geopolitics or any kind of politics involving the United States, he gets upset, and you're like, why do you do this to yourself? Why do you watch
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
I don't get mad. It makes me sad at some of the things that are going on. And I quite honestly think that the current destabilization all over the world is not healthy for anybody. It's not healthy for those that are going through it, but it's not healthy for us either, because it's being hidden from us. A lot of information is being hidden from us, so we don't find out how bad things really are.
Well, and my thing is with the media is, when I watch the news, I guess I mostly get upset because I don't know what is fact from what's a story.
Right. You don't know how, because the government puts out a lot of misinformation or a lot of
Yeah.
malinformation. They do that on purpose to distract from certain things, or like, just the stuff with our current president's son. A lot of that stuff was swept under the rug for no other reason than to wait until it's too late to do anything about it. And that's really, they didn't really care if anybody knew. It's just that they didn't want anybody to know yet,
Yeah.
and it may have caused, some issues. I don't think it really would have mattered. I think those people that voted that way would have voted that way anyway. But to me, those kind of things, and that it all goes back to be treated like a child. I think we're programmed that way from an early age, even in school. You have diagnosed ADHD, correct?
Oh, yes. Combined type.
So you were diagnosed. How difficult was it for you to make it through school? You did graduate, right?
I did. I did graduate. And I graduated with I only needed 25 credits to graduate, and I graduated like 31 and a half, even though
That's insane.
a lot of those credits were by the skin of my teeth. Like, they might have been C minuses, not going to lie. I just paid enough attention to get the grade. But, man, I can't really focus on something if I'm not interested in it, or if it's not explained into a way that I can understand it. So, and Sean's even like that. Like, we talk about like our school, but he was like an A, B honor roll student, even in college. Like, he has his degree and stuff. I'm like, I tried college, and that takes a lot of commitment and a lot of discipline. And I just,
Well,
I
the
wanted
way
to
I
have
kind of look
fun.
at it is, if you're really an expert with something, you should be able to explain it to me as if I'm 5.
You should be able to. Yeah.
If
If you
you're
have your
considered an
doctor in
expert,
or
yeah,
something and you're the resource for everything, you should be able to be very thorough
right.
in explaining this is why, this is what, and going into detail and,
And
not-
so I asked ChatGPT one of those, philosophical questions and, explain it to me like I'm 5. I totally understood it, and it was a principle that I was having difficulty wrapping my head around at the time. I can't remember what it was, but it was one of those philosophical questions that it's like a scientific principle type thing. I can't remember what it was now, but I asked ChatGPT and it gave me like a unbiased answer, and I was like, well, that makes sense, and it gave me a whole drawn out answer at first, and then I was like, now explain it to me like I'm 5, and it gave me an answer that I could understand. So if an expert is talking to you about a certain field and they're trying to explain to you, and let's take cryptocurrency, for instance. Do you know anything about cryptocurrency?
I don't.
I don't know anything about cryptocurrency either. And you know why? Is because those people who know the most about cryptocurrency don't understand it either. And because they can't explain it to me, break it down to me like I'm 5 and explain it to me. I've watched countless videos about blockchain this and blockchain that and how it does this. But with the advent of quantum computers, how is the blockchain going to be the biggest and best thing when quantum computing will just decimate it? Yeah. And there goes all your electronic money, puts us all back in the Stone Age anyway.
Yeah.
It's just real difficult to wrap my head around those things. But
I don't really know either, but I know something about money and electronics is like, I've heard that, cash is going to be non-existent in the future. Like everything's going to be like digital.
I don't see that really happening here before it happens.
I don't think
see
it will.
it happens everywhere.
The media is like telling stories of what's going to happen. And that's why I'm like,
Well, so you have the vast majority of Americans that understand why they want to do that. They want to track your purchases. They want to, they want to know what you're buying. They want to market to you and make more money.
And they're doing that already.
Thing.
Like I have Amazon and I like shop things on Google Shop. Like I'm always like typing in my phone stuff. Like,
sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Like what? Let me see if I can find this online. So, I mean, my phone, if I scroll through Facebook, it'll have like all these recommendations for stuff that I've been kind of looking at. And I'm like,
turn that stuff off, but I kind of dig it.
I mean, I'm kind of okay with it because I'm like,
But
how did you know I was talking about that? Look at that. My phone. Look at that. We have like spies on us all the time in our smartphones. I mean, maybe that's a little controversial, but it's great.
Hey, I'm also one of those type of people that I carry so I have multiple ways to pay. If with me, I have the card, I have a little bit of cash, and I'm a weirdo, so I carry precious metals with me sometimes.
Oh, I love that though.
So
don't stop doing that because that stuff's great. Like I love that you like collect coins, and Sean, my husband, does too. He collects coins and stuff. That's so cool because that's like the coins always have a date stamped in them, like the year they were made. And I just think it's cool. Like that comes from, it's kind of sad because Sean's like, oh, look at this coin. It's an old one. It's from 1990. And I was like, you shut your mouth right now, sir. Am I.
When you think
don't
about
you
that,
do that,
you don't think of it as 34 years ago, man.
Yeah, I'm like,
you don't
you
really
say that
think
coin's
about
old?
that.
That's a good looking coin right there.
When I think 20 years ago, I think the 90s.
I do too. I can't help it. I can't even. The fact that it's 2020 something, I'm like, nah.
For real, I don't even miss the 90s. I don't.
I miss being a kid and not having responsibilities. I miss the Sega.
The
Lion King gang on the Sega.
If I had my 20s to do all over again, the only thing I would have done different was taking care of my body better. So I'd feel this good now.
Oh, I feel better now than I did in my 20s. Awesome.
I say that all the time. I feel better now than I did in my 20s. And what makes it great about that is nobody expects it. And so my sister one time, I talk about burnout. My sister during, this is during the height of the pandemic, she called me up. She's like, what are you doing? Or she said, what are you doing 2 weeks from now? And I said, I don't know. I don't even know what I'm doing tomorrow. Why? And she's like, well, I'm going to Maine to drop off a puppy. And I guess I'm going to Maine.
Oh, how
And
cool.
so they called and they didn't expect me to say yes. And because I don't miss Chiefs games. I refuse to miss
Oh
Chiefs
man,
games,
the
whether
Chiefs. We're going to the Super Bowl.
absolutely.
Oh, I'm so tickled. I'm like, aha, we did it again. Because, everybody gets their doubts a little bit about the Chiefs, and then we shine at the end. It's like,
Hey,
you might doubt us.
I heard
There we
something the
are.
other day. I'll bring this back up in a second, but she asked if I wanted to go thinking I would say no because the football game and because I normally do say no. But the main reason why I always said no was because my size, number one. I'm always uncomfortable. I'm always uncomfortable with other people, and I refuse to miss games, whether I'm going to the game or I'm at home watching. As long as I can watch the game, that's all I care about. And so I said yes, and they were shocked. And so, great, I was like, well, let me book my flight right now. And so I just took off and went. It was one of the greatest things I did at that time. It got rid of all that burnout at the same time. I come back and my people missed me and it felt great, and I missed them while I was gone. And then I thought that I could do it again a few months later, and I got homesick. I was gone for 3 days. I got homesick.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
terrible. And it wasn't, because I didn't have my people with me,
Oh, yeah.
and it was difficult.
Yeah.
But
Don't feel bad. I'm the same way. I'm a homebody. I've got 2 dogs, 3 cats, and, Sean, my husband, and if I'm away from my house for too long, I just miss being in my living room with my animals and my coffee and it's just like my meditation ceremony, I guess, every day, sitting on my couch with my coffee. I gotta have that.
I only miss that when we're not by ourselves. I gotta admit, like when we're on vacation when it's just me, Ashley, and the kids,
Yeah.
when we're together elsewhere, it doesn't matter to me. Like as long as we're all together, that's where home is.
Yeah.
And now it's when you involve other families and other people. Like I think you and Sean would be okay to go vacation with because you're kind of down to clown.
Oh, yeah.
You're kind of down for whatever. But if like say we got a wild hair up our ass and wanted to go to the park, the Universal Studios park in 2025, would you guys be down with that?
Oh, probably.
So
My business has to take off a little bit, so
And I've
you can
got
have
some-
employees so I can take vacation
I've got
time
some
off.
ideas to kind of help out with that. We were talking about inspirational conversations. You guys kind of gave me a little bit of inspiration to help you find your inspiration, to find your why again.
Yeah.
Because I think you've lost it a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
And that's part of being successful is remembering that why you did it in the first place.
Yeah, it's because I don't
And
like working on Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, working for the man.
Financial,
be my own-
financial independence is really what
I'm
you're
telling you,
striving
exactly.
for, right?
Yeah.
Well, you're not being very financial independent working by yourself, know?
No.
You guys, so I think you guys are working hard, and it's just that daily grind that's getting to you, kind of like it's getting to me and Ashley, because our daily grind hasn't stopped for like 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, and it does make you kind of go, I need a break, or I need a change of scenery or something. Like Sean and I, we talk about going to the lake all the time. I'm like, even if we get to go like on a Saturday, Sunday, let's just go down to Lake of the Ozarks when it's nice and let's just do it. But let's actually do it and not just talk about doing it. Because we do
Right.
a lot of talking and not very much doing. That's part of the problem right there.
Well, when it comes to doing, is part of the problem that you guys got to go alone?
Well, part of it is I hate to say blame anything on mental health, but I think part of it is our ADHD and
Oh,
stuff
you can-
and
this,
trying to stimulate stuff to organize it, to get motivated to go. Like Sean and I, if we're going to be late somewhere, it happens almost all the time.
Y'all need a village.
I need someone to kick my butt is what I need. I need someone to be like, Jessica, you need to do this at this time. I'll be like, okay.
no,
I need like a
no.
motivator. Like Ashley, you can motivate because
No,
she's
she
like
can't.
on it.
No, she can't. She needs motivation herself. So she's sitting over there because I don't think she could sit where you're sitting today. Save that thought just for a second.
Ooh, look at the mics coming off the stand. This is exciting. This is how you know we got a group.
Okay. So Ricky is a really good vacation planner. I don't ever have to plan anything. And we're not doing like, he doesn't have like a whole itinerary planned out. We just kind of wing some things and we have a great time. And so if you ever need Ricky to plan you a trip, he will plan you a trip and it'll be the best time ever.
And it's fun.
He should make that a side gig.
So that's great.
I should make that a side gig, but I don't know how to get started. And if that's something that you guys hate doing,
You could be like a travel agent like that
I don't
organizes
want to.
things.
I don't want to do stuff like that because it's the biggest freaking. It's a scam, is what it is, and I hate to. I hate to really drag on people's, entrepreneurship.
I can't be a scammer. Like that's one thing that I could never go into business
It's not really a scam because people really need help planning things sometimes. And then when you go through a travel agent, they're not just getting your tickets for your hotel. They're not just telling you where you can go. They're planning the whole trip. If you need to go on a cruise and something like that, it's just easy to go through a travel agent because they plan it for you.
Or if the travel agent knows, hey, by the way, if you use, XYZ, it saves you like this much money. If they know those hookups to make it where it's like a better deal for you, I will pay you whatever to help me organize that to save that money or something. It's not a better
deal. 9 times out of 10, it's not a better deal. And that's what they don't tell you is that you pay them X amount of dollars to plan all this stuff for you, but they're not getting any better deals than you can get yourself.
See, and I'm, Mr. Sean and I, we don't like to pay anybody for stuff that we feel like we can do on our own. That's just kind of the way we are sometimes. So Sean will be like, no, we're not going to go, or we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it.
The exception is Disney. Disney has Disney vacation planners that's all they do is they plan Disney vacations. Now, they might be travel agents for other things, but Disney, they're actually affiliated with Disney and are authorized to give Disney deals. And going through the major theme parks, because we were just saw Universal Studios this morning advertising their new Epic. What is it called? Epic? Yeah, Epic Universe. Universal Studios Epic Universe. And it's opening up in 2025. I've been really excited, stupid excited for it for like 2 years. But they're opening up that whole deal, and I forgot where I was going with that.
And Sean to go with us.
Oh yeah, how we need to go on vacation and stuff.
Oh yeah. So going to places like that, I learned talking with those companies directly because I'm one of those type of people that I don't believe the hotels.com is getting me the best deal. I think I could probably get that deal myself without paying this, and so far it's always worked for me to find the best places to go stay and then just call them directly. And talking to Disney and talking to Universal, I had asked Universal flat out, but Disney has volunteered the information. They said, you will never find a better deal with anybody else than with Disney. And they do it that way on purpose
that way you use it.
Right. So there's no secondary market and they're not, the secondary market's not making money off of them. And so you'll never find any deals for Disney cheaper than what you can get through Disney or Disney vacation planners.
Ah.
And Universal's the same way. And when I called them, I asked them that. I was like, hey, is there anybody else like, this place over here? And they were like, no, you could get some things that are like discounted, but honestly, those places paid full price to get those. And so if it's like a $10 off coupon, those places had to pay the full price to get that $10 off. So there's more than likely the reason why they want you to buy it. And so we've come across a lot of scams and gotchas over the last, I don't know how long we've been traveling, like 15 years. And so far we haven't been taken yet, but we've come across those a few times and we've stayed in some sketchy ass places, but I'm not afraid to stay in those sketchy ass places. It's
Oh,
the
I don't
family.
mind staying in like mom and pop hotels and stuff because sometimes I think they're more charming and cleaner.
No, I'm
the
talking
big
about like
ones
the
and stuff.
dirtbag hotel or dirtbag motels. I've stayed in a lot of sketchy places. Like didn't even have clean water. Well, that's okay. I don't plan on taking a shower. I'm
If I
just
see a
wanting bed to
cockroach, I'll
sleep
flip.
in.
I'm just saying. Like,
Now that
if I
when
see bed
we
bugs
do
or cockroaches, bye, family.
so
I'll see you
that's
guys next time.
That's a mandatory. That's a mandatory check, no matter what kind of place
Oh,
we're
yeah.
at. That we check the beds, we check the places where those type things might hide,
Yeah.
and that's no matter where we're at
Look
because
up
we've been.
reviews. Always read your reviews.
Yes, and we've been at nice places that have had those issues.
Oh,
and-
yeah.
and
It doesn't
so-
matter, like, how much you're paying a night. Like, that, those things could always happen. Like, and we know because we all have cleaned before, like, there's some dirty people in real life. Like,
Yeah, so I didn't know how deep you wanted to get into that.
I mean, I'm not saying, I clean for the public. So the places I clean, like, are an array of different people coming in and out. It's not always just a place and employees. It's also like open to the public places.
Right.
So sometimes the bathrooms I clean, there's been some homeless people that have gone through there and I'm like, what happened?
Right,
What
so
did
let me
y'all
ask
do in
you-
here?
Let me ask you, in your experience, whose public bathrooms are worse, male or female?
Okay, it's a different type of dirty. They're both dirty. Men and women, you both are dirty in the public bathroom atmosphere. But women is more like, I feel like women usually are the ones that take the babies to the bathroom and change the diapers and stuff. So usually women bathroom usually will have like the dirty diaper smell in there, like that kind of dirty. And like obviously feminine napkins, stuff like that. But you men will like chew your tobacco and just spit it in urinals and like pee on floors. And it's just a different type. Like they're both dirty and they both have their surprises.
Man, you run into some clean ass bathrooms.
Oh, I run into clean bathrooms.
Yeah, so
I
let
mean,
me
when I'm
tell
done
you.
cleaning,
Let me tell you, I've
sparkle
ran
and shine,
into some
baby.
bathrooms at gas stations. Oh my Lord! And I don't clean bathrooms at gas stations.
When Sean and
or
I went to
nothing.
Colorado through Kansas, like we had to stop in those gas stations that have like the Subway on the end. And that's all they have in the whole town is like just the gas station, just the Subway, everything. And like a tumbleweed like going by. And I'll like have to like ask to use the bathroom and they give like the key on like a big wrench or a cement block
And
or
it's
something.
outside, yeah.
Yeah, and it's outside and you go in there and I'm like, well, somebody either got murdered in here or something happened to somebody in this bathroom. Like it's ready for the horror scene, the movie scenes.
Right.
It's ready for Hollywood to come make a thriller, like some Ed Gein looking stuff. Like it's scary, but I mean, they always have the friendliest clerks that work in those kind of gas stations, though.
I just heard you. I just heard you mention Ed Gein. It's
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
crazy that it's kind of crazy to hear like other people talk about because I know a lot of stuff about like old cases like that. and
Oh, I love.
I
serial
heard
killers.
about Ed Gein before I knew he was the inspiration for Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh yeah. It's.
And see, that's where
Are we
these
going there with this? Because like
we can
I've
go
got,
anywhere
I've
you
got
want
a
to
whole
go.
different
We
side.
can
like
go anywhere you want to go.
I just want to do like a movie type.
I'm telling
I'd
you,
like to eventually get
because
into
Jessica
like movie
likes
reviews.
gory stuff and anatomy and like cadavers and stuff. Like I want to be a mortician. My uncle Vance, that's what he does. He is like a mortician.
Now, where the hell did the inspiration? So the name of the show. What I wanted to name this episode here because you're an inspiration to me. You and your husband
See,
are both
you guys are
inspirations,
inspirations to me. Like that's so crazy because
and we can be inspirational together.
maybe it's because we like, you and Ashley are kind of like Sean and I, but roles reverse. Like
Right.
And it's kind of crazy.
I don't know. Once you get to know me a little bit more, and I'm like, you'll start to see a little bit of the craziness and why it works.
Oh, we love Dolly, but you'll have to have Jacob on here because he'll be able to sing all the Dolly Parton songs. I'm not kidding you. That boy knows more Dolly Parton than Dolly Parton herself.
So the podcast, really, what I wanted it to be was like a catch-all, but like I wanted to talk to inspiration, people who inspire me, people who might inspire children, people who might inspire America. Because one thing, if you don't know that about me, I love love.
Oh, I keep talking about Valentine's Day is on the rise, and I love
that's
all the
I hate
heart
Valentine's
stuff.
Day.
See, Sean and I don't celebrate Valentine's Day. That's why I told him, like, you're taking me to the World of Oddities Expo for Valentine's Day. It's just an excuse to make him, like, do something I want to do, because we don't really celebrate Valentine's Day either. But I love Valentine's Day decor because I love hearts, because I love love too. Like, I just love being kind and being a good person. And, like, I think attitude is contagious. Like, your attitude is contagious. So
smiling is contagious.
Absolutely. Smile. Shout out to, my dentist for my Invisalign, Dr. Elmore. Appreciate you. Because I've always smiled, and now I smile like all the time since I've had my Invisalign fixed. That's why I'm on solely with his liners. I'm like, hey, you take out your Invisalign, you better take out that Invisalign,
We know that. So we've got a couple children that are over the age of 18 on their own. My daughter's got a baby on the way.
I know. I'm so excited.
We're going to be grandparents. I know how difficult it is to pay for things like that when you don't have the money. So it always gets put on the back burner forever. Well, when we found out that when we found out each boy needed braces, we were like, okay, well, this is an expense that they're probably not going to take care of when they're older. So if we get it taken care of now, then, when they're like 25, we can remind them, hey, you need to go to the dentist and get your retainers and stuff like that.
Right?
We can remind them of that and tell them, like, hey, this is why we're doing this, is so you don't have to pay $5,000 for new teeth.
Yeah.
And that's an option for you. If you don't want to take care of them, don't want to maintain them, that's on you. But we gave you the good start, because it's genetic, the reason why your mouth is messed up. So.
Oh yeah, but a lot of Dr. Elmore, he did a good job, because my last dentist gave me a filling without any numbing and really scarred me for the dentist, so I didn't go for 7 years, which is terrible. But
man, I tell you what attracted me to that guy's practice is it's set up for efficiency.
Oh yeah.
And he can have 20 patients in there all at once, and everybody's getting work done. And I don't think so I had a root canal done. It took like 3 hours.
Yeah.
And I mean, that whole time I was uncomfortable. He was uncomfortable, but he did what it took to get the job done. But I couldn't have been more comfortable anywhere else. He has TVs up on the ceiling for your comfort, and TVs down low.
I'm kind of weird though, because I'll be watching like Friends or something like up above, and I'm like, man, I hope these bolts are screwed in tight, or else this is going to be a real fun experience. The TV just bops you right in the head.
The good news is it's not that heavy.
I think about fun stuff like that all the time. Like, I think that's that high anxiety we got, you think about stuff that's not really going to happen.
Or it comes from those movies. What is it? Final Destination?
All those movies.
I can't drive by a log truck, man.
Oh, I can't, anything that has anything strapped on the back of it, I'm like, nope, we're passing this one. Like, we're going.
So I'm a licensed driver, so I can drive those big trucks.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
Most of the time, as long as it's not logs, because I know nothing about hauling logs, as long as it's not logs, let's just look up at it and just pick apart why it shouldn't be hauled that way.
Oh, that's Sean, you know. Especially because, like, when he sold appliances at Lowe's, he would, like, have to strap stuff to people's trucks and stuff, or, like, whatever, like, appliances, refrigerators and stuff. And he'll see some people, like, just having one little string across something huge. And he's like, if they slam on their brake one time, that thing's just going to whoop, fly out.
And then you see stuff like that happen, and you're like, I would stop and help, but I'm busy.
Yeah. I'm like, that's kind of, when I have your kids in the car with me, I have to be really careful, because I'm like I take my road rage out verbally usually. So I'm like, close my mouth, like, you know what I mean? Because people drive and you don't realize it. Like, I don't have kids, but like I have like a natural maternal instinct in me.
Why do you think our insurance premiums are so high around here? I'm
telling you, like, when I have your kids in my car, or any child, anyone that's, under the age of 18 with me,
you don't notice it.
I notice how dumb people drive.
Right.
Like,
you don't really notice
me.
it when you're driving around town. You got your radio
up.
If you're in a good
accident,
mood,
bring it on. Like,
right.
I have health insurance. I have car insurance. Like, let's go for a good time.
I'd rather not when I can avoid it.
I mean, yeah, I don't want to die or nothing, but like, I'm fine if I get in an accident. It's me. But like, I got these 2 young ones in the car with me that rely on me for their safety right now. And you're driving all crazy. And I'm like, I'll say a bad word or something. And Sean's like, Jessica. I'm like, I forgot I'm like, that's a bad word. We don't say that.
Yeah, and see, we're like, so we're real parents here, and it's a lot of people that I see like out in public or whatever. They aren't the way with their kids as they would be behind closed doors, and that we don't get an honest look at parenting from anybody else. And I'll be the first one to say, like, so I mess around with my kids. They know I love them. Hopefully, I love you all. But I say things like, like they'll be like, hey, you want to know something? I'll be like, no, but you can shut the fuck up, and people take that. Sometimes I've heard, I can't believe you just said what? Like, I didn't mean it like to be mean, it's just,
Right.
that's the way we are. I have that type of relationship with my kids, and if you don't have that type of relationship with your kids, that's fine. It is what it is, but my kids don't like hear that type of stuff and think, oh, my dad's hateful or anything. And
Right.
if they do, hopefully they can feel safe enough to say something about it. I mean, there have been times where I've said some things that they didn't like and they let me know about it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I tell them, hey, this is why I say these things. And if that hurts your feelings, I apologize, and we haven't had those discussions very often, but we have had them. So I do know that it has happened. But those type of things, they just kind of laugh it off and just go on about their day.
Yeah.
And one thing we have with Sully, or I have with Sully, is he will come, hey, Dad, you want to know something? You want to know about
He's
this?
got
And I'll
lots
be
of
like,
fun facts. Hey,
Right.
fun fact,
Right.
even though it's like, I don't know what was fun or factual, but we'll go with it.
he'll say, do you want to know something about this? And then I'll say, no. And without skipping a beat, he'll just go right into whatever he was going to say anyway, regardless of how I felt about it. And because he knows that whether I want to hear about it or not, I will listen to him. No, I don't want to hear about it, but go ahead because I know you're going to say it anyway, type of thing. And sometimes, like most of the time, it's okay. Well, that's interesting to know, but there's some times where I'll actually have feedback and I'll be able to, and it starts a conversation. So I'm glad that he does those things. I don't discourage him from doing those things.
Yeah, I definitely like to, when I talk to Sully and Rocket, like one thing I do like to talk to them is like, I like to try to engage with them in an intellectual way, like let them say what they want to say because they're humans and I want them to feel like they have a voice. So I want to listen
Right.
to them if I do feel like, what Sully's going to say might be like justified in something that's like
Right.
meaningful. But I do tell him sometimes like, Sully, I don't play video games and I don't watch the movies you watch. So you
Right.
can tell me. I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's pretty much what I tell him.
And he pretty much, I think, has gotten the hint now that he's been around me quite a few times now that he knows, well, if I talk about a video game, Jessica's not going to know. I'm like, yeah, we're going to have to like, we'll go fishing together so we can talk about fish or something that we caught. And I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that time.
Right,
We'll have
right.
something in common, but video games, I'm just,
Yeah, so I'm wanting to take him camping sometime soon when the weather warms up, and I'm hoping I'll be able to get some of that social awkwardness and be able to have father to son conversations with him while he's learning and got his attention focused on something other than video games or YouTube or whatever he's got going on inside his bedroom that keeps him there all the time. And I want to get him outside and get him active, and because it seems like he's interested in that kind of stuff, and I
Oh,
kind of want to
yeah.
push him in that direction and things that he's interested in. And I think that stuff, I know about camping, I know about fishing, and he's always talking about wanting to do those kind of things, but I never did it because I was always too big to do,
I
was
feel
like
that.
500 pounds. I can't go out there and sleep on the damn ground. Are you kidding me?
oh yeah, like when we took Rocket this week into the tractor, like the farm show, and they had the tractors,
Right.
and you had to actually climb into the
Yeah.
tractors. Man, 3 years ago, there's no way I'd be
Right.
climbing in a tractor.
Absolutely.
Like, absolutely not. Anything with a step this high off the ground was a no.
Right.
But
And
here
so-
I am, crawling in a tractor.
I can say the inspiration to lose weight for me not only was for my health, but so I could be here for my kids. Having a youngin, I was not able to keep up with Rocket even after like a year old. And so I needed to do something. And so he deserved more than what he was getting, and Sully deserved more than Sully deserves more than what he's getting now. And so I thought that if I could do those things and get him focused on, let's just say we're building a fire and I'm teaching him how to cook on a fire, I can have those father to son conversations with him as I'm teaching him while he's focused, and he might retain it.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah.
And
those
just,
are the things he's going to remember, like when he's older, you know,
right. And hopefully he can pass those things down to his kids.
Yeah. Like like one thing we've mentioned is how like kids do need fathers. The father role is
right.
essential.
We haven't mentioned that today.
Very important. Like that's something that you and I have talked about, you know, and I know my dad, you know, my dad's taught me a lot of things, and he's always let me see the truth of things. Like kind of how you are with your boys, how you'll tell them like, hey, stop talking about, you know, whatever. Like you don't sugarcoat things. You kind of let them see the raw, real stuff. My dad, that's the way he was when I grew up, was he wanted me to take life on. He wanted me to be able to make my own opinions about things. And he wanted me to see things like they were. He didn't want to paint a picture like, oh, this is this way and it's so great and it's rainbows and butterflies.
Right. And I think there's a word for that now, free range parenting or free. And I had mentioned it on a previous podcast, and I actually did look it up because I thought, well, I've got free range children, you know, and free range parenting is allowing your children to discover the natural consequences of their actions. And I do that quite a bit, but with an honest tone. I give them choices, and I'm like, you know, if you do this, there's going to be consequences, whether they be good consequences or bad consequences. But no matter what happens, you got to live with what happens.
Yeah, and my dad, I think he was like that with me growing up because I'm a lot like my dad.
Right.
And
I see a lot of myself in my kids.
Oh man, I am so much like my dad, and I am also very stubborn. So you can tell me not to do something and I'll still do it, but let me find out the consequence for myself, and then I'll be like, oh, this is why Dad said not to do that.
Right.
Now I've learned. Like, not only did he tell me, but I've also witnessed it for myself now.
Right. And we got to teach that resiliency to our kids to be able to deal with those type of things and those type of situations on the fly, because so a lot of the things that I had issues growing up, I had no direction. I had nobody to steer me one way or the other, so I did things the way I wanted to do them, when I wanted to do them. And I think a lot of the issue that I came up against as an adult was just not knowing how to do anything on my own, and I had to do multiple trial by error. You know, I didn't even know how to pay my bills. And so I started out at 17 years old, and I had the help of, you know, Caleb's mom and a few other people along the way who really didn't know what they were doing at that age either. And so nobody really prepared me for life because they weren't honest with me.
Well,
They would sugarcoat things. And like my mom had a big issue with her kids knowing the financial situation of the house, even though we were having the electricity shut off all the time. We went 2 or 3 years without gas service. So she was real sugarcoating of what was going on. So they hid a lot of things from me.
yeah.
And they hid a lot of the abuse that they went through. I never went through any abuse when I was a kid, other than maybe rougher or tougher than necessary love. Like I went through a lot of tough love, and maybe it was sometimes a little tougher than necessary.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I definitely get that. Like,
But I didn't have an honest shake. Nobody told me, like, it was always, you know, I would ask questions why. It was always because I said so. And so I didn't really understand why I was doing things.
or have you heard the famous, like, do as I say, not as I do?
And I say that myself with the kids, and I explain to them why.
And part of it is, as a parent, you might want to have something better for your children than you had. So that might be a
Absolutely.
way to protect them. Like, just
And
because I did it this way doesn't
yeah.
mean this is what you should do.
I
Like, learn from my
overcome-
mistake type thing. Like,
I overcompensate a lot with the way I was raised. and I overcompensate with the kids. And I think it's not exactly healthy for them to see some of the things that we go through. But it is an honest look into, hey, everybody's got problems and it's okay to, I don't like keeping secrets. You know, it's kind of like you and Sean were over here the other night and kind of saw some family turmoil here live and in person. I'd have that on the show on camera. That does not bother me because I'm honest. And if people understand, like maybe I go crazy and maybe I'm just, you know, spouting off at the mouth or maybe saying things I don't mean, but in the moment, that's an honest look at who I am.
Yeah.
And I can't hide that. I can't hide that from you. I can't hide that from them. I can't hide that from anybody because then I'm not honest.
Yeah.
And when my mom passed away in 2015, I got a sense that, you know, mom wasn't being honest with me about how bad she really was. And other people told me how bad she was and your mom's barely hanging on. But my mom had told me, I'm okay. I'm okay. You know, everything, I'm going to be okay. And when she passed away, I felt extremely unprepared for her death. I felt extremely unprepared for life. And I had to be honest with myself at that point. And from that moment on, I made a promise to myself that I was going to be honest all the time, no matter how bad it hurts, especially with myself. And so I take an honest approach to parenting my kids. And I've always been that way, but since 2015, it's gotten quite a bit more aggressive in the way I do things. I don't sugarcoat things for them for a reason because the world sucks out there sometimes.
Oh, it can be very cruel. And there's things you can't prepare them for.
Well, we've talked about the other night, you know, like going to work, getting up and going to work, and it's every day the exact same thing every day. And it's mundane, it's monotonous, and it's the rat race. We don't have time, especially in the United States, to just take time to smell the roses. And in uncertain economic times, we have to just keep driving. We have to keep moving. And I think sometimes that might be a little bit dangerous if we don't take time outside for ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You have to find your vice. Like, you have to find something of today's world that will bring you happiness, especially with the, you know, financial strain that people are going through right now. Like,
absolutely.
Everyone that I know, whether from every generation, has complained about their bank accounts or not having funds. Like, and it's hard. So, you know, one thing like Sean and I will do is we'll try to find something that's free or something that's like doesn't cost money that we can do that. Because sometimes we'll do something and the fact that it costs X amount of dollars can make it less joyful. Like, I know this costs, you know, $50 a ticket a person or something. And like we spend that money. Right. It's like, I could have had that money and I could have bought this one thing I really wanted or something, you know? And
right.
I mean, we're not in our dire straits, but it's like everyone I think right now like wants a little more than what they have because maybe a few years ago it wasn't so bad. And now, you know, like when I go to the grocery stores, I look at how many bags I'm taking in my car and I'm like, what happened?
Right.
It's almost cheaper to eat out at some places than it is to buy the groceries that I need to make a meal.
Absolutely.
I'm like, this is crazy.
And it kind of depends on how many people you're cooking for. Like for us, it wouldn't be cost advantage, but for just you two, for you two,
especially because I'm a beriatric patient and like, so I don't eat as much.
So you can share with Sean and
I
be
get
okay.
like 2 meals out of one meal that, you know, so it's like we can split
or
stuff.
Does Sean eat his whole meal? Because we live in the middle of America. Portion sizes are monstrous.
Oh, the portion sizes are not helping anybody out right now. I mean, it is like if you have leftovers, you can make a lot, you know, but there's times where why do you have to have a card that says I'm allowed to order off the kids menu? Like you should be able to order off the kids menu even if you haven't had bariatric surgery, in my opinion.
Well,
because kids portions are adult portions now.
You really have one of those cards?
Yeah, I do.
People treat you like that?
Well, I don't.
Dude, I'm
too embarrassed to even break it out. Like I am too afraid to say anything. I'll just order the regular size and take the rest of it home because I don't want to be like, can I please order off your children's menu?
So when we go out, we maybe we do things a little odd, I guess. But I walk in like I own the joint, you know? Like so I'm one of those type of people, like you could and people usually see me coming too. I love to be customer service too. I love it. I love people like, and I know it's fake. I know it is fake, and they're smiling and we're going to get your money. I'm okay with that. Kiss my ass. I don't care.
I'm paying for it.
Make me feel special, and I'm more likely to spend money with you, and I don't really care if you remember my name when you walk out or not, but you'll know my face because I'll be like, here, take my money,
Yeah.
and I love being treated like that. And if that's one thing I've noticed that's really changed recently is you don't get that anywhere anymore.
Yeah. So Sean and I talk about that because we both have worked customer service jobs before we started our business. And I used to pride myself on my customer service. Like as a retail associate and like a receptionist and everything, like I was always like, I want to be the lady that people remember. Like I want to talk to Jessica, I want Jessica to help me. Cause
exactly.
the nicer I was to
so
people, the nicer they were to me. And I'm like, this
I
makes
would be
my
your
day
ideal
better.
customer
Yes.
because I would be like, hey, I'm here to see Jessica and I only deal with Jessica.
Yeah. And I would love it when people would request me. Like that was just like, okay, cool. Like I'm making their day. I'm helping them out,
Right.
But I feel like lately I've lost, but then it's irritating when you give good customer service and you give customer service and you go places and you don't get that customer service when you're the customer.
Right.
Ooh, it's so irritating.
Well, so I have a favorite jewelry store, and they know me pretty well when I go in there, and it's because they know that I like to be treated that way. When I am treated that way, I'm more likely to spend, not just hundreds, but thousands,
Yeah.
And so when I walked into, there was one day I walked in to purchase something, and the fella at the counter didn't know who I was. And I understand that, it is what it is, but I was asking for one of my people that knew who I was. And he's like, oh, I can help you out. I can help you. No, you don't understand. I want one of my people to come, and cause I want to order a custom piece, and I don't want to order it from you. No offense.
Right.
And he understood after a moment what I was getting at, that I had a certain person that I like to deal with, and I deal with, so I go to Nicotine Jewelry down there. What is it? What's the name of the road? Belton Beck, out there on Belton Beck.
Oh yeah.
We go to Nicotine Jewelry, and Mark Segrist and his wife own the store there, and Mark designs custom pieces. And I knew exactly what I wanted when I went in there, and we didn't know exactly what Ashley wanted when she went in, but they made me feel like I was the only customer in the store at that point. And there was other customers there. They made me feel really important about, and they really cared about what I wanted. And I explained to them that, hey, I don't want this for myself. Eventually I'm going to pass on, and I want to pass this on to my children. And that's what it meant to me. And they, first time out, they did an amazing job. And so I went back, and the lady that I had spoke to had moved on to a different, part of life, and she no longer worked there. But then they got somebody else that was a manager there, and she is just the greatest. And I went in there, explained to her my idea about what I wanted for a gift for Ashley's anniversary gift. And we had discussed things, and just from what I said, they had designed a piece that didn't have to be changed at all. No improvements, no nothing. And right away, they got it the first time. And I was just blown away at the quality of the workmanship. And when you treat customers that way, and then you have the quality to back it up, you could charge whatever you want.
Oh yeah. You'll feel good. Like I am happy to be spending my money with you because
Right,
I feel
because
good
you care
about it.
about
You
me,
care about me.
and-
I'm not just another person.
Right.
You went the
It's
extra
not
mile
just
and helped
it's
me.
not just my money that you want. It's my
Yeah.
business and my, and I feel like, it was not just my business that they wanted. They wanted to see my face. when
Yeah.
that they presented the jewelry to me, and they wanted to see that reaction, and people that take pride in their work like that is hard to find.
Yeah, and
It
when
is
you're
really
done, you
hard to
get like
find.
goosebumps because you're like, wow, I feel good. Like
Right.
they really cared about me, and that
Absolutely.
feels amazing.
Absolutely.
And
even
it's a
in,
local business too, which makes you feel even better because you're supporting local too on
absolutely.
top of it, which
Absolutely.
is awesome.
And even in what we do for business, I take pride in what I do.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't like it when other people take that out of my hands, my ability to do my job correctly. I don't like it when they take that out of my hands. But I show pride in what I do. I don't leave things half-ass because that's my name. I work there, and it's, it is like I take pride in it because I want these people to take pride in what they do.
Yeah,
And
it's a huge
I think
team effort.
everybody could just take a little bit more pride in what they're doing. Now, if you work at McDonald's and you're flipping burgers and you're not happy with it, go somewhere else. There's a lot of people that are just happy as fuck, just flipping burgers.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
It's a job that's needed. I mean,
everybody needs to
yeah.
have work. Everybody needs to have employment. But if you're not happy, go somewhere where you are happy. Find your happiness, find your why, find your inspirations wherever you can find them.
Yeah, and me being a millennial, I will tell you a lot of my generation gets a lot of heat for switching jobs a lot because, we have this reputation of, oh, millennials only work for you for a year or two. But let me tell you, if you've got a place that you're more willing to work, that'll treat you better, that will pay you better, that will respect your time and your boundaries, and, you might enjoy more and you're going to give better service and be a better employee with them, just get the different job. Switch lanes if you want. It's okay.
Well, I think a lot of people deal with burnout. And I notice
Yeah.
a lot of people in large organizations that were affected by the pandemic. I found over the last few months, the more I look into it, those people haven't had any breaks
Yeah.
since the pandemic. And it's been 3 years
Yeah.
since that all started. Nobody on the top. And maybe that's what we're not giving a whole lot of credit for, the people that haven't had those breaks, that have had to deal with a lot of other things. And
There's a lot of services, a lot of jobs. Even what I do with cleaning, we didn't get paid time off to be off work. If anything, we
Right.
had to work more. And this was a time we were terrified. What is this coronavirus? Are we going to get massive diarrhea? Everyone's buying toilet paper, but we still have to go to work. We didn't know what was happening. And we're like, well, let's just protect ourselves and make sure we don't infect any one of our loved ones by cleaning up after
Right.
people in the public and stuff. And it's fine. It was an experience. It was really fun looking for rubber gloves. All you jerks out there, out in the wilderness, wherever you are, that are buying rubber gloves and wearing them just to drive your car, stop it. Because some of you are still doing it.
Just stop.
Yeah, just stop. Just stop buying those nitrile gloves just to drive your cars, because there's people that actually pick
I
up
see people wear a mask driving their cars still.
I do too.
It's ridiculous.
I do too. I'm like, stop wasting all the PPE.
Oh, and I found out in planes, in airplanes, they don't recycle the air in airplanes. So you're probably safe to not wear a mask in an airplane as well.
Oh my gosh, the COVID restrictions. That's a whole other topic. That's why
With you today, my objective was to come in here and talk a little bit about coffee, have some inspiring conversations, but most of all, no offense, but you've been my guinea pig. You're my first guest, and I think it's gone great.
I have had a blast. And it's great because you and I, we're like the same. We talk and we both don't hurt each other's feelings because we're both the same type. You can give your opinion about something.
Right.
I can give my opinion about something, and we can just talk about it. There's
Well,
never
even
any
if we
hurt
disagree,
feelings.
yeah.
Even if we disagree, it's fine. We can disagree and still get along.
I think we get along, or I think we have more in common than we don't.
Probably.
Because before we started recording, you said you were more conservative on things and see,
I am.
I am more of like a libertarian. I'm like a conservative libertarian, I guess you would say.
I'm kind of in the middle, but
My brother introduced me to a new word the other day, constitutionalist. And that's like the Constitution is the end all be all kind of thing. I can kind of go with that.
I can kind of roll with that too.
Yeah.
Like I could see that. Like
I
I can get on
am-
board with that.
If I couldn't really call myself a true libertarian because I am red, white, and blue patriotic.
That's me.
And so that's one thing that we have in common. I wanted to talk about how, so I'm like, I don't want to say ultra patriotic because I've never been to any foreign countries. This is the only country I've ever visited, but I do
I've been
talk
to Mexico.
I've not even been to Mexico.
I've been to Mexico.
Close to Mexico.
It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Mexico's awesome.
So I went to San Diego. I mean, you could call that Mexico, I guess. You know,
it's
even
close.
though
Like,
it is close.
Culture is kind of, it's one of those states that's kind of like a border hugging state. Kind of California
Yeah.
kind of like dips down.
Absolutely,
like,
yeah.
So it's got a lot of, I'd say Hispanic culture in it, which is pretty cool. I mean, I've never been to California. Sean has because he was in the Marines and trained in California. But
I think that's where my patriotism comes from is my grandfather was a World War II veteran.
my great grandpa was, and he's the one that I lived with.
And you
with
said
my parents my whole life.
Your father is a retired police
officer.
officer, and so you've got law enforcement in the family. And I don't have really particularly any law enforcement. One of my best friends is a former police officer, and ironically enough, he's like. He wasn't my friend. He wasn't really my best friend until he met my sister, and then they got together, and now they're married. And so he's one of my best friends, and he used to be a police officer himself. And I've got a lot of service member friends.
That's cool.
And I am more of the type of guy that I'm ultra patriotic because I know, not necessarily from experience, that this is the greatest country in the world, but and nor do I think it is the greatest country in the world, because that's all relative. You might fit somewhere else other than America.
I don't know if, like you, I haven't experienced other countries, so I can't say that
Right.
our government and stuff is like so grand.
This is the devil that I know.
You know
is
what I
honestly,
mean?
Yeah. This is the devil that I know kind of thing.
But the sacrifices that have been made by, my ancestors, by my grandparents.
Well,
and
you
stuff,
take
to
politics
protect our
out
freedoms and stuff, like it's like freedom of speech is one of the best freedoms we have in this country.
Absolutely.
A lot of countries don't even have that. Like you can actually get
Well, here lately, a
for
lot of
saying
people have
certain things
been,
and stuff,
a
like-
lot of people have not, if they haven't self-censored, they've been censored by the large media conglomerates there are out there, this one included.
Oh, yeah.
And
Oh,
so it's not, it's one of those things that we kind of got to tiptoe around for now.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that way forever. It never is. It's one of those things that I've noticed about the United States, and it self-corrects somehow,
Yeah.
I mean, but the people, I'm not, you take politics and politicians and government out of it. I'm patriotic because I know the people of America. I know who we are. I
Yeah.
know my neighbors. I travel all over these United States, and I know people. I've met people from all over the place. I've met people from different countries. I've met people from different states. I've hung out with a lot of people and had a lot of conversations with great people. And that is why I'm patriotic.
Oh, yeah. And I think that the more you talk to people, even if you do talk about politics or religion or things that, they say don't talk about.
As long as it's not on the internet, you're fine.
Like when you do talk to people, even if they don't agree with you, you'll find so much middle ground with talking to people that maybe you thought originally would disagree with you, but then you find a lot of common middle ground, like,
Right.
oh, hey, you want love and peace. You like love just as much as I do. And you
Right.
want
And that's
people
why
that
when
have,
back in the day, they used to say not to talk about religion or politics, is because it was so divisive. You could really ruin a conversation. But that, I think, not talking about it is kind of why we got in the spot where we are today, is not talking about it. People held their feelings in for so long, and now the vast majority of people are disagreeing with the way our government's being ran, either direction, left or right. Nobody's happy with the way things are going.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who
And
voted
they're all
for
fighting
either
each
way
other.
that's real happy with
Right,
anything
right.
from now or 5 years ago, or, like in general. But I think that people need to stay talking. We need to talk to our neighbors. We need to talk
Right.
to people that maybe we think we disagree with, so we can just, if you want to just kind of, get a wind of the other side, just be like, hey, I want to know
And just
what your feelings
remember-
are. Like, how do you feel about this and why? Just because I'm curious.
Just remember also, no matter who you're talking to, remember they are people. We are all people. And to
Yep.
use, I steal this quote all the time, and I get it. I heard it first from Jesse James Dupree of Jackal. You shit like I do.
Yeah.
You know,
We're all
we
human beings at
You
the
put
end of
your
the day.
pants on just like I do. We're all going to end up in the same hole at the end of the day. Man, be nice. That's all.
Yeah.
Be nice. Just remember who you are talking to. Even if you don't agree, they are still a person, no matter if it's, your neighbor from down the street or somebody from the other side of the world. They are just people, just like us. And they have their thoughts and opinions and feelings, and they are allowed to have those thoughts, feelings, and opinions. You may not like them. And that goes for the other side too. If I'm saying something that you don't like, move on. You don't have to say anything. Just move on. And if you do say something, just remember, I'm a person, and I woke up, and I put my pants on just like you did.
Yeah.
And I think if more people had face-to-face interactions, they would kind of understand that. I think that's one thing that social media did to us.
Oh,
was not
absolutely.
afraid to disagree with people. And then when you're behind a screen, you forget that they're people that you're talking to.
Yeah.
And then you meet face to face, and I thought you said this, I thought you said that. And it's not that simple. You have to look at those people and understand that they have a point of view. Maybe it's not the same as yours, but their experiences may be different than yours,
Oh, yeah.
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 And so I don't mind talking about it, because I can talk to anybody about anything, and I'm very hard to offend.
That's how I am. I'm pretty go with the flow. I understand no two people are the same. No one's had the same life as another person.
Right.
Everyone's
And even
going to
when
have
I'm-
different points of views and different opinions and different experiences, but it's really cool if, as humans and humanity, if we can talk to each other and kind of find some common ground somewhere maybe. And even if we don't, we can say, you have your opinion and I respect that, and just
Absolutely.
still be civil to one another, and, have love and kindness in your heart and try to spread it when you can.
Well, with that, I think we're going to bring this to a close. Ashley's got to go get the kid from school. I definitely want to have you on again. And
I
we're
would
going to,
love to. This has been
I'd like to continue
Amazing.
this conversation, actually, focus a little bit more towards the business, your business and
Yeah.
our business, and how we can not only improve our businesses, but help each other and inspire some other folks out there who might be trying to do their own thing.
Yeah, there's a little entrepreneur in everybody, I think. Somewhere that you'll find it.
Hey, I found it when I got tired of other people's shit.
Yes,
So,
that's exactly it.
so with that, I think we're going to come to a close. This has been a great episode. Thanks for joining us.
Well,
We'll
thank
have
you
you
for
again.
having me. This has been awesome. Thanks everybody that
Bye.
listened. Bye.